Good morning and welcome to this tutorial where I'm going to explain to you how to use the Soroban-React-Dapp boilerplate and its associated script to help you in your development of Dapp on Soroban. So let's get started. So let me show you an overview of the project. This project has been developed in collaboration with Palta Labs. It is largely inspired by the work done for the Inkaton project by Labs. And it is basically a boilerplate Dapp, and an associated NPX script that allow for any developer to kickstart very rapidly its project using command line. So this is what we have when we run the script for the first time. So this is a very simple Dapp with a connect button here that supports writer and export. The chain info here, which displays some information about the current chain that is connected to the Dapp, and the smart contract interactor here, where we have something to fetch, to read data from the blockchain, and a field to send data to the blockchain and to the smart contract with the address of the smart contract deployed here. So this is a basic greeting smart contract. So basically there is two main functions: read the title, read the greeting, and set the greeting that you can just set by sending a new transaction here that will be asked to sign here, and you send it, and this little value here will update, the smart contract will update its state. So this is the boilerplate that we offer to you to use, and we will see how you can use it for creating your projects. Now that we've seen an overview of the boilerplate itself, let's dive in and look at how to properly use it and call the script and do the first step with the contract setup. So how does it work with the code? So I'm going to give you a little overview of how to use the boilerplate and the script, and show you around to show you a little the functionalities that are implemented in the boilerplate tab. So to start, you have to call the script. So you can either call npx create-soroban-dapp, or you can also call with npm this little alias for the npx script, npm create and space soroban-dapp here. And don't forget to put the little latest tag when you do this, because otherwise, if there is an update on the published library on npm.js and you have a cached version of the script, then your computer will use the cached version of the script instead of the up-to-date version, which can lead to some versions conflict with all the different dependencies that are updated every week. So there you go. Just press enter. It will download the script if it's the first time you use it, and you arrive on this little script to set up your project. So what will be the name of your project? Here, my project will be Sora Chat. I'm gonna use the Yarn package manager, so I'm just gonna select Yarn. Otherwise, you can select whatever you want. Do I want? Yeah, I'm gonna let the script install the dependencies for me. And yes, let's just go for it. So you can see that we have the output of the script here. We can see what it does and what when it ends. So we'll wait a little bit for the dependencies to be installed. So here you can now cd in SoroChat and yarn dev to start the app. So if we now go to SoroChat, we can see that we have everything here, and we can yarn dev to have our local version of the boilerplate running on our computer up on the localhost. It will take a little time to display here, but it should be quick enough, and just like the time for everything to compile and being set up. There we go. So we have the boilerplate here, our local version of the boilerplate, which normally is already connected to the deployed version of the contract on the testnet here. So you can see that we get the result here. So now we have seen how to use the script to do the initial setup of our boilerplate. Now we will see how to deal with the contract side and how we can use the provided functionalities to easily modify and deploy our contract on every network. Now let's look a little bit at the code. We have two important folders. The source folder, which will contain everything related to the front end, and the contracts folder, which will contain everything related to contracts, the contracts themselves, and the scripts to deploy them. The create-soroban-dapp comes with some scripts using Stellar.js to deploy contracts easily. Most of the mechanics are already implemented here, so it's easier for you to kickstart a project if you don't know well about Soroban CLI or Stellar.js. So how will that work? We have the greeting contract here. You can see that there is one set function and one read function. The read function by default will return default title here. If we go here, the contract is already on chain. We can see that we are returning hi, and we can try to deploy a new contract to see how that works. So let's just modify this contract here to put something like hello, I was just deployed here. Okay, so what do we do here? We open a new terminal, we go into contracts. So this contract is a sub folder which will be itself a package here, which needs to be built and dependency needs to be installed. So I will just run my package manager here to install the dependencies, and then I can build the scripts. This shouldn't take long because it's a very light build. Now I can build my contract, so I'm just going to go into the contract folder and build my contract with the correct target. So in the meantime, I'm going to set up the environment here. We have an environment example here. So this needs to be completed with a secret key. So I'm just gonna create a new environment here. And I'm gonna input my secret key. Perfect. This finished in the meantime. So I can now just go back here in the contracts folder and just run yarn deploy. So the deploy script takes as first parameter the network on which you want to deploy. For me, this will be testnet. It could also be futurenet on mainnet. And the list of contracts, contract 1, contract 2, the list of contracts that we want to deploy. Here, I only want to deploy greeting. So I'm just going to greeting here. So the script is submitting all the TX we want, and we get our new contract ID here. If we go back here, we can see that it's not updated yet, but this should update itself with the new value of the contract here. Hello, I was just deployed here. And so this is how easy it is to deploy a new contract with create-soroban-dapp. And you can find the deployment addresses in this deployment.json file here. You can see that we have deployed 2 instances of the greeting contract, one on futurenet and one on testnet. So now that we have seen how the contract is installed in the front end with our little deploy script, we will see how the front end is getting this value of the contract address and invoking some calls on the smart contract deployed on chain. So back to our code. So we see here that we have the updated version here, and this deployment JSON here will be fetched by the front-end side. Let's then investigate a little bit what's happening in the source component. So here we've got several default folders, but the one that's really important for us here is the source components web3 here, and the main here, the main file that you will be to touch if you want to quickly adapt this tab will be this greeter contract interactions here. So here, this is quite a long file. That's still okay. So the idea here is that we have, so this is basically all you can see on the screen when you look at the soroban-dapp. So the idea here is that we have this function, which is the fetch function, which allows us to call to get the greeting value on the contracts on the chain. And we have the update greeting here, which is a function to set, which is sending a transaction on the blockchain, which needs signing from the wallet side. And these are integrated inside of the React components here that I will not talk too much about this because this is just basic React and formatting here. I will talk about what is specific to this boilerplate dapp. So here, what we'll have here, what is important to see here is that we have this contract here. We have this contract here, which will contain, it's basically a wrapper around some representation of the contract that is on chain. So basically what's gonna happen here, when you want to use a contract you just deployed, you will call this little hook, which is called use registered contract here. And this hook, given a string, an ID, will look basically in our deployment.json file to find the corresponding contract information here. So we can see that we have 2 different contracts here. So we have 2 different contracts that are on different chains, but this, you don't have to worry about this. This is handled by the hook because it uses a context and it knows on which chain to fetch the contract. So if on the dapp here, if I connect my wallet here, if I change the chain to another chain, if I go to FutureNet here, this change is here, and the contract knows where to fetch the new the front end knows where to fetch the new address and the new contract info in the deployment.json. Here we see that we have nothing because probably the address in the deployment.json for the FutureNet is outdated. So let's go back to testnet. So you have this. So this hook here, you just call it and you get a contract object, which basically is this info here. So the ID and more importantly, the contract address with some wrapper around so that you can call a transaction directly to the contract. So here, how do we do the fetching and the calling based on this little contract object? Now that we have seen an overview of how the front end and the contract was communicating in a way, how the front end was able to interact with the contract, let's maybe dive in a little bit more in these two functions, fetch greeting and update greeting, which are used to effectively communicate and interact with the blockchain. So the fetching happens in this little fetch greeting function here, which is the following. So we have a few different checks here. So the soroban context is the whole context in which, so this is provided by the Soroban React library. This provides some info about the active chain, the server, the RPC server we want to interact with, and the address connected, the wallet address connected to the dapp and everything. So here we check that we indeed have something connected and with a valid server, and that we have a current chain that is defined. Otherwise, we cannot fetch anything if we don't know the chain on which we want to fetch it. If not, we return some errors here. We toast some errors. Otherwise, if everything is okay, so we retrieve the contract address from the contract object here. So every contract object will have its own deployment info, structure object in which we can find the contract address in this deployment info, and we set the contract address here. This is basically used to display this little contract address here, but it's not very important. So then what's important here is this bit here. So this is where the real thing is happening, is that we use this contract object to invoke on it the method from our contract. If you recall our contract here, we have this method, we have two methods, set title, which is used to send a new greeting, and the read title, which is used to read the last sent greeting. And so we call this little method here thanks to this contract.invoke function. So the parameters for this invoke function are the method, a string, and the arguments. Here we don't have any arguments to provide for the contract.invoke method. Then we get, if we don't have a result, we fail. If we have a result, we get a result string. We can convert back from the scval that we get, because every interaction with smart contracts are given with are done with scval. If you want to know more about this, you can check on the Stellar resources about the XDR and the scval, and we then set the return message here, which will allow for displaying the state of the React components in the dapp. Now, if we want to look at how the update of the greeting is done, so we have to check this update greeting here. This update greeting here will take as a parameter the new message, which will be fetched by this little field here. And then with all these checks again, here we have one more check to do, is the address. So this address is also given by the Soroban context here. This is the address of the connected wallet, that is of the wallet that is connected to the dapp. So we retrieve this address, and if the address is not defined, it means that no wallet's connected. So we cannot call this function because we need to sign the transaction with a proper wallet. So finally, if everything is okay, we go back here and then we call the same function, the same invoke function on this contract thing, but here with the method setTitle and some arguments here. So we want, if we'll check the title contract here, the greeting contract, we see that this setTitle here take as one argument the title, and it is a string. So we go back here and we see that we have this string, this new message that is passed into the arguments list here. But before we can't pass the string like this, we have to convert it to an scval. So we use this little scval converter, which is basically just returning the converted value from the title to scval using Stera SDK methods here. So we go back to where we were, and where was that? It was here. And we also add this little line, which is sign and send. This is to say that we cannot send the transaction before it is signed by some private key. And so this will be the line that will trigger a little pop-up on our screen. Like it's basically, we will trigger the wallet for asking the user to sign the transaction here. We don't need to update anything in the state here because as soon as the state of the contract on shell will be updated, the fetch function will be called again, will be called and will be updated and will display the new value because this function here, this fetch greeting, is actually using is called using a use effect here, which will update automatically if something here change. So here we are. This is the end about this little tutorial about how to handle the basics of Soroban-React-Dapp boilerplate. I hope this was helpful. I hope you will use the dapp. And if you have any issue or follow-up questions, feel free to reach out on Discord. I will be very happy to answer all of that. Thank you very much, and happy coding.